For more, I'm now joined by one of the lawmakers asking those questions, Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Republican Congressman James Comer of Kentucky. Always good to have you, sir. Thanks for the time ahead of such a busy morning. You say that these governors will be held publicly accountable. I'm just curious, what's your end game for today? Because you know they're not going to sit in that hot seat and cave. They know they're walking into the lion's den.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all three very skilled debaters, and they'll I'm sure hold their own very well. The purpose of the hearing is to get them to publicly explain what their position is with respect to the Trump policy towards deporting the criminal illegals. All three of these governors have led states that are considered sanctuary states, and that's in their own words. They have all exhibited examples of where they've not cooperated with Tom Homan and ICE in efforts to deport these criminal illegals. They've bragged about it. They've issued statements. They've publicly criticized ICE and the law enforcement who are tasked with deporting these criminal illegals. So we're going to have a lively discussion about that and see if we can't get to some type of consensus moving forward, because this is an issue that's not going to go away. This is an issue that President Trump campaigned on. And I think the American people are strongly behind President Trump and his efforts to deport the criminal illegals.
And to your point, you know, these three are skilled debaters. They've been very vocal. So you know what they're going to say, right? What do you tell Americans who say this kind of seems like political theater on both sides, if we could already write the script for this morning?
Well, I don't know. I think it will be. I think there are a lot of questions. I think Americans are curious. I think Americans are concerned about crime in these big cities and these blue states. These governors have certainly demonstrated that they're not going to cooperate with the president's efforts to deport the criminal illegals. They've been publicly critical of the president. And now with what we're seeing in Los Angeles and other cities around America, there seems to be a movement to have organized protests to protest President Trump's efforts to deport the criminal illegals. So I think it's a timely topic, and I think this hearing couldn't come at a better time. And I think most Americans will be tuned in.
Yeah, and you have three governors on the list. Again, you got Illinois, Minnesota, New York, and to your point, now we're seeing all these protests nationwide in other sanctuary cities as well. Why these three, and who else was invited?
Well, these were the three that were invited. These three have all recently issued statements being critical of Tom Homan and critical of the Homeland Security, which is led by, of course, Kristi Noem. So we're going to see what their criticisms are, if they'll say publicly. We've got specific questions. We're not trying to have a gotcha moment. I'm not into political theater, although the majority of the committee on both sides of the aisle have been known at times to get a little lively during committee hearings like this. But at the end of the day, I hope that we can come to some type of consensus and work together. That's my goal, that we can somehow find common ground to move forward. If they're going to publicly say they're going to continue to oppose this administration's efforts to deport the criminal illegals, then they're going to have to face the consequences.
What about California Governor Gavin Newsom? We mentioned and talk about who's on the list. You can't help but think who's not on it, especially him right now. I know he's a bit busy, but do you see any future opportunity to hear from him in the same kind of way?
I think it's very possible. Obviously, when we scheduled this hearing, Los Angeles didn't have the riots and the protesters that they do now. It takes usually 6 to 8 weeks to coordinate with the witnesses' schedules to get them to come in for a hearing. So we're already in discussions about future opportunities for Governor Newsom to come in and explain his actions. But, today we've got three governors that, again, have been very vocal critics of this administration. And they don't get to choose. And that's the issue. That's what Gavin Newsom's arguing about. At the end of the day, this president campaigned and received a mandate by the American people to secure the border and deport the criminal illegals. And these governors have been obstructive in the efforts to deport the criminal illegals.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.